This is the biggest webinar of the year, and it's only January 31st, but it's also the biggest webinar of last year as well. This is going to be the most value that I have dropped. This is me taking 27 individual months at 27 individual roofing companies, plus since launching this new product on this Atlas and platform go-to-market motion that we did on November 1st, I've had 200 one-on-one conversations with roofers. I've done 75 webinars, and I've done 12 live Q&As. All of that is what informed this. I've been working on this for about 2 months and writing it, putting together the slide. I really, really want this to go well. So I appreciate everybody being here, and I'm excited to get on this with you guys. So stick around. It's going to be a long one. So bottom line up front, what are we doing? We're going to know the difference between not knowing and choosing, right? There's the challenges between not knowing what to do and choosing what to do. We're going to address that. For the first time, this slide has changed, but growing a business is about getting ideas adopted, because adoption is everything. All right. I'm not here to sell anything. I'm not going to sell anybody anything. The whole idea behind this is I want to teach you how to consult yourself. For the clients in the room, this is going to help align you to the customer success and consulting teams at RBP to make sure you can see exactly what we are doing. For those of you who are not customers, you could leave here and consult yourself. Right? The whole goal is to make it so you could consult yourself in your own business. And then the other thing we're going to talk about is the hard things to do, the big obvious things, and the tough conversations. That is me trying to dilute 230 slides that we're going to go through today into 4 individual points. I don't know exactly if that was the right 4 to pick. I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining who I am. I'm going to be quick, but my name is Adam Sand. My goal is to help you not have another year of almost in your roofing business. And so therefore, we are not simply trying to brag. What I'm trying to do is give you an idea as to what we have done so that you can reduce the cognitive load required for you to trust the information that I am saying. And I think that the webinar is going to do a great job of that, but just I'm going to be quick. For those of you who don't know who I am, I lived in Northern Canada. I built a roofing company up there. I since moved to the United States because every winter I would come down here and consult. And in 2 years, my wife and I, while we were working immigration, we drove across the country a few times. We helped over 200 roofing companies get on Sumo Quote. We've helped over 25 roofing companies get on HubSpot. We continue to maintain many of those customers on a recurring consulting subscription. We're on retainer, continue to help those businesses grow. In 2023, $850 million worth of revenue flowed through our system. Almost everybody has doubled their revenue in the 18 months trailing our builds. So I think that means that we just might have something to offer, and I really want this to help. This is translated into an entire team of people here, over about 30 people on the team that help build the company. So I hope that helps you just trust the information. If that doesn't outdo it, the information should. And so I'm going to try and talk fast. You're going to have to listen fast. I'm going to do my very best to get through this in 90 minutes. I've never tried to deliver this much value before, so I'm going to get right after it. So we're going to start with an exercise, okay? I'm going to call it the magic wand. So right now, if you had a magic wand, or if you currently have one and just aren't sharing it, and you could wave it and get as much money as you want, how much money are you making right now per month, right? So I want to write down, or put at least think about here, what number of how much money do you want to make, and how much money are you currently making? Now you can put it in the chat how much money you'd like to make, or you can and you want to think in your head how much money you're making right now. So you can just put in the chat what you want to make, and you don't have to share what you are making, but I would love it if you shared what you're currently making, because it's important for the next step. All right, so hopefully it doesn't take too long to think of a number, but I need your engagement here, because for most of you, I'm assuming in your heads, when you guys shared what you guys thought, what the amount of money you want to make versus the amount of money you're making, you're probably not making that current amount of money. So put a 1 in the chat if you're currently making all the money you want to make. If you're not making all the money you want to make, put a 2 in the chat. So we have some growth-minded people here. So what we have just done is establish the gap between where you are and where you'd like to go. So here's you, and this is what we established is our goal, okay? So now you're confronted with 2 scenarios. In scenario 1, you have all these goals, right? And there's all these different ways of getting there. And the problem you're like is, which one do I do? You know? And before I explain more on that, you have scenario 2 is I just don't know what to do, right? Like you just don't know which direction you even go, right? And this one feels like anxiety, right? So if you feel stressed or overwhelmed about which thing you should do and you just don't know what it is, right? You just don't know what to do. You feel like you're at a loss because you're hopeless, and you feel like, I don't know what the fuck to do, right? I don't know. I don't know what to do. It's not about picking. It's about you don't even know where to start, right? This has been really important for me to identify. If I feel anxiety, it's because I just don't know which thing to pick. And if I'm feeling sad, it's because I'm hopeless. I feel hopeless. And that this hopelessness means I have a lack of choices because I just don't know which direction to go. So a lack of choices means I have ignorance around this topic. But ignorance is solvable. It makes this solvable. So then I can start solving for what I need, a path, right? That I know so that I'll know what to do. It's the only thing that I know for me personally, right, that has worked. What makes me sad is that I don't know what to do. And if I don't know what to do, it's ignorance, and ignorance is solvable. Is this resonating with anybody in the room? Just give me like a 3 in the chat if anybody identifies with one of these two paths. That's completely normal. And that's what my goal here is that I want you guys to see that if you have a goal and where you are is not where you want to be, and you're really going to have either one of two options, a bunch of pathways to pick from that you don't know which one to pick, or you just don't know what to do. And that anxiety is sadness, and that sadness is ignorance, and ignorance is solvable, right? So it comes down to strategy, right? And so when you're deciding what to do, it's this clear case of a lack of strategy. Now, a strategy is this like big, fluffy, amorphous word that gets tossed around a lot, especially by people like me in the help you make money business. And no one knows what the fuck it really means. But we know that it's probably important to have a strategy. And in my opinion, having a strategy is the most important thing. But I want to give you a different definition for this to make the word strategy a little more useless. Strategy is just prioritization. That's all it is. Whenever you hear someone say we have to figure out our strategy or what is our strategy, it just means you have to figure out our priorities. That's all it means. In layman terms, it's what's going to get us the most bang for our buck when we think about it this way. So if you want a fancy definition, it's how you choose to allocate resources that are limited against unlimited options, whether you know what those options are or not. It's that you have a limited amount of resources of time and money and energy, but you have unlimited options. And to prioritize is what we call strategy. And so the tough part about this is strategy in general is when you're looking and you see, okay, here's all these options. Strategy is figuring out exactly and actually which one is the right one, which stands out amongst the rest, right? It's what option stands out off the page, because the most costly thing in business isn't just the unknowns. It's the unknown unknowns. And as things like the thing that you didn't know you could pick from. And so my goal here is to make you guys as much money as humanly possible, given the time that you are investing here today. So I want you guys to get the best return on investment. I'm not like hyperactive. I know I talk fast and I expect you guys to listen fast. It's just that I want to get more output of each minute of input of my time into you. And if I can help people in my sphere of influence develop a framework to be more predictably strategic, right, then you will have better priorities. You will better allocate your resources, time, money, and energy. So in the fewest moves, you can get the most bang for buck to make the most amount of money in your business possible, because that's the reason you get a business. So I want to go back to scenario one, right? In scenario one, we have all these goals and there's all these different ways to go. You just don't know which one to pick, right? So I want to give you guys a couple examples, right? Would you guys like some examples of customer stories that we've had where maybe they've had problems similar to you and they had to pick? Would you guys like that? Because I want to tell you a story about a guy named Brian, right? Brian had a busy roofing company that was taking up all of his time, right? And he was doing every different type of roofing material, including these really complicated commercial roofing jobs. And he was a $3 million roofing company. So he was doing everything. He was doing metal, shingle, flat roofs, commercial roofs, institutional, school, like everything, right? And one day he's telling me a story about how he had to completely remodel a suite inside an apartment by himself over a weekend. Because it turns out a guy in his crew is playing hacky sack with other guys in the crew with a paintbrush. And that paintbrush flew towards a pipe boot and went down the pipe. And because of the wonderful world of physics, right, and a few rounds of trying to snake the pipe, this brush got pushed further and further down, and it stopped the toilets from draining, and the entire suite, right, on the top floor got completely backed up and flooding the entire wall and the suite below with sewage water from the entire apartment, or from that entire floor, right? Completely destroyed a suite. And to make things right, he agreed to completely rip apart and redo this suite to remedy the damages. And he did himself. The funny thing is, this wasn't the first time he had a story of a commercial roofing building going wrong. It wasn't an insignificant part of his revenue, but it was the majority of his stress was these commercial jobs. It was tough to bid. There's a lot to negotiate and plan. It required specialized employees to execute on the work, and it took time to get paid. At the time, he was a consulting client of mine, and I had this wild idea. Why not just stop doing this and focus on the residential business where you're duplicatable and scalable? After talking him off a cliff and acquiescing that he would do the last big job, right, that he had bid, he agreed to stop doing commercial and focus on the luxury cottages and fancy homes that he could market to and create real leverage in his business. He was in a market and where there was a lot of lakes around, and there's tons of lakes and cottages and fancy houses, and he was best built to serve that customer. And so the moment he did that, we focused on strategies, right? Strategic, right? Picking from making priorities. We focused on a video sales message, or what he dubbed the full video stack, which was a walk around on the ground, a walk around on the roof, and a video review of the proposal. Because a lot of those people own cottages, they're not there at the house all the time when you go to do the estimate. And the next thing you know, combined with those videos being posted to his Facebook as ads, the end result being that he was booked up for the entire season, and he bought freedom back for his family. Which then we prioritized getting an integrator into his business, this amazing woman, and that woman started to give him back his time. And then we implemented EOS and accountability, right? Or EOS created accountability so that now his business and his numbers were growing through implementing EOS together. Then we developed process maps for his business that detailed all the processes and sub-processes that existed inside his now much simplified CRM. And then he sold his roofing business to an investor. He moved to the United States, paid off his house and his building, and he came to work with us here at RBP, where he now focuses on consulting roofing companies through the sale of their businesses and mapping their processes, such as this last year, he spent entirely working with Jason Reisman of Eustace Roofing and ended up leading that partnership that he did with Vertex, which was one of several PE firms that we got bidding to buy the company. So that's one example, right? There's another example that's almost the same kind of structure, right? Where they were doing everything, but a different problem, a different strategy. Right? There was this guy named Brennan who had a sales manager who was kind of in the way. He would essentially, the sales manager, he would basically have to die for anyone to move up or be removed. Now, what makes matters worse is this company had a different problem than Brian. They had no problems installing any material under the sun. They had 100 in-house installers, but they had real difficulty selling it because the sales manager couldn't actually bid every type of job. So he couldn't train the salespeople to bid every type of job. To add more challenges, the building codes and standards in their market were so loose that they had like 110-year-old single wall construction huts that were within 15 or 20 minutes drive of the oceanfront houses that were mansions. And so providing a quote on site was nearly impossible. And they needed to confirm every estimate was correct, but the current sales manager couldn't estimate everything. And the best estimators couldn't sell. And the best salespeople didn't love estimating. They didn't like all the work that went into it. So Brennan flew me out for a month and we stared at a whiteboard for a month. And I don't know why this picture isn't showing up, but it's a picture of the movie Moneyball, right, with Brad Pitt. But in August of 2020, we tried to figure out what we could do about this problem. And the situation made me think of the context switching problem from the book, The One Thing, and the sabermetrics concept that was introduced in the movie Moneyball, right? The Moneyball, the concept that they were talking about there is called sabermetrics. It was this new thing that penetrated the baseball community. And so we broke the sales role into the sales skills needed. Like we basically drew a circle on the wall, on a whiteboard, and we started drawing circles of all the different roles, right? And it's on-site inspections, sales proposals, estimating, follow-up, sales to production handoffs. We drew it all out on the board. And as we started to kind of split up, it looked like an amoeba. Like we kind of thought it looked like the COVID germ. Granted, it was during COVID, so it made a bunch of sense, but it was just a bunch of little circles inside of a bigger circle. And we kind of thought, okay, what if we looked like a few years back, Gary Vaynerchuk made this idea that every company is a marketing company that does the thing. You're a marketing company that sells Tupperware. You're a marketing company that sells roofing. You're a marketing company that sells cars. We thought, what if we were a tech company that did roofing? And instead of salespeople, we could have customer success managers that took care of the onboarding process of customers to their roofing buyer's journey. And then they ensured they had success with that product. And then we could add field techs that simply focused on the on-site inspection, and then estimators who only built the single quote proposals. Combining these roles, we were able to drastically cut down the time it took to get a customer into production and cut the cost of sales by 50% while drastically improving sales and customer experience. And that inside-outside sales format, it was what it became later known as, because then Martin released his book and he'd been doing it for years already. So we kind of adopted that language. But this tech-enabled approach allowed the company to hit $1.46 million revenue per capita. That's per employee that didn't put nails through shingles, right? So that'd be 1.46 million, including the owner and everybody else who worked there, which to date is still one of the best that we've ever had. This is strategy. This is prioritizing what impact can get the most output for the effort that you put in. And this is where your natural skeptical mind will think that it sounds very atypical, like it's a very edge case. But these were two completely different companies, a $3 million company and a $20 million company that's now doing 60 million, and a $3 million company that's sold, and we don't know what revenue they're doing now because we don't have them as a client. So you think maybe this could happen in someone else's business, but never in yours, right? But that's where you'd be wrong, because at RBP, we focus this consulting methodology on a theory of constraints. And this is one of my goals to teach you today, because we have dealt with a myriad of problems over the years and solved them all. And so we operate on a theory of constraints. Everything we do in our approach is designed to get a high rate of adoption around built better processes and built on best-in-class tools. And so I want to teach you this today so you could do it yourself without paying us. We built this into our mission statement even, right? Which is to make work more rewarding through engineering better customer experiences. And you can adopt this way of thinking to grow your business the right way without any help from outside parties, right? If more customers thought this way, we would probably be out of a job if everybody could just think this way. And there's a constraint on every business. And if you start there focusing on the employee experience and the customer experience first, we found that when we focus on this, our client, the business owner, always gets what they want, right? Which is more money and a better successful business that's built to last forever, right? To understand how we best improve your business, it comes down to understanding how work ethic and input affects outputs. And this is where I need your engagement. So who here in the room is investing at least half of their waking hours into growing their business and achieving their goals? Put a 2 in the chat if you're investing half of your waking hours into growing your business. Are you working hard? Like if you look at yourself in the mirror, you think, I'm working really hard to achieve my goals. 2 plus or minus. Okay, I like that. Thank you, Jason. Manny, okay, 1.88. Okay, close enough. I love it. Okay, and there's nothing wrong. Okay, that's not a bad thing. But if for those of you who put a 2 in the chat, many of you are accomplishing your goals at a rate that excites you. Like, are you achieving your goals at a rate that excites you? Okay, so put a 2 in the chat again. Actually, use a 3. Put a 3. Put a 3 in the chat if you're achieving your goals at a rate that excites you, or if you feel like you could be going faster. Don't put a 3. So just put a 3 if you're achieving your goals that excites you. All right, a little bit less. Okay, it's a simple answer. It's a simple answer to the problem. If you are investing half of your waking hours into your business, okay, trying to achieve your goals, and you're not achieving your goals at a rate that excites you, simple answer, you're working on the wrong stuff. If your business stayed the same for 6 months or more and you're spending all your time on it, you're working on the wrong stuff. You aren't going to get more hours in the day, which means you have not identified the biggest constraint on your growth. So I got another example for you, right? This guy named James, by all measures, his company was successful, right? He had a great business. He owned actually many other local businesses and had successful real estate ventures. He has a beautiful family. He's a model Christian. His roofing business had a few salesmen that were outperforming like the greater national market, selling $3 or $4 million a year in insurance and retail. His Google reviews were plentiful. He had almost 5 stars on all platforms. He had the respect of his community. And best of all, he was a real roofer, a guy with authority in the industry. And he had the ability to build any roof or take on any construction project because he knew the engineering behind it. So he wouldn't have to turn down any job. And I was like, awesome. How can I help? Like, what do you need me for? The business was stalled out on growth. It was just steady Eddie, good profit, but the business just wasn't growing at a rate that excited him anymore. And it didn't matter how many hours he put in. And he wanted to expand to new markets and build a business through buying other roofing companies. And I was like, okay, but why can't you just capture more market share here in the town that you're in? He thought his market was tapped out. And so I showed him on ChatGPT that the market capacity of his city put him at less than 5% of the market share, and he was shocked. The problem isn't that the problem is not that you need more markets. That is not the constraint. It's that you can't find a way to duplicate the past success of a few rock star sales guys. The constraint on the business wasn't a lack of customers. It was a lack of duplicity in his approach to the market. And so when we implement the customer success managers and field techs and with the production octopus, his top producer and other high performers didn't like the new comp plan and his business approach. And they quit immediately after I left, despite giving me every word that they had a commitment to stay. And they went on to start their own. Those guys left. They left and went to start their own company, which obviously bothered him. And top it all off, this guy James had 2 newborns in the home that he needed to give his wife support, like any good guy like James would, right? He had 2 kids under 1 year old. And it got pretty scary. That first month, halfway through, when those sales guy quit, sales were down 90% after I left. right? And those guys were stealing their leads that they were working just before they quit. And we did the implementation of the new CRM. Yet by the end of the month, sales leveled off comparable to the previous year of the same month. And the next month, they sold even more. And he actually went on stage at an Owens Corning event and talked about it. The culture improved, and James got back to coaching people, right? So he was coaching the people in his business. He was excited to do it because they wanted to learn, they wanted to succeed, and they appreciated the modern approach and the ability to focus on just their part of the sales process that they enjoyed without having to do the things they shouldn't do, couldn't do, wouldn't do, or hated doing. And he got to spend more time with his wife and kids while focusing on creating a new quarterly profit incentive plan that would further empower and enable their teams. This new pod structure eliminated the dependency on the stellar sales guys, instead focused on a stellar customer and employee experience that fostered healthy competition in a good environment. This is the theory of constraints removed, right? We removed the constraints, and now there's predictable growth in the business. And for many of you, the constraint is not switching CRMs or getting better SEO. That's not the constraint. Yet I see so many of you, right, in the roofing Facebook groups every single day. You're like, all day I'm in there because it's my business to be in there, and I see it like in roofing roofing insights group, right, or other like RoofCon group and everything like that, working on shit that doesn't move the needle, right? It doesn't move the needle in your business. You're working on the wrong stuff. I see this in the 200 conversations that I've had since November 1st. And if it's okay, I'd like to share with you how we did it for 22 months straight, traveling the country in my truck or by plane. You can do it too. One of the questions I always ask is, why can't we double business every year? Like, why can't we? And why can't we do it? That I usually get is, well, we need to hire more people, right? To which I say, well, let's just do that, right? Like, this is where we move into developing actual tactics and deploying process into their business. And so what do those tactics look like? Well, the first thing in my consulting process is to figure out what we're going to do with the roofing company that we're going to try and grow. Like, what is the strategy? We're looking at all the things we could potentially do that has to map to one of which is, one, how's this plan that we're going to implement this strategy, how's it going to get more customers, more people who want to buy a roof? The second objective is, how is this thing that we're going to do, we're going to spend time and money and energy on and risk, going to drive more revenue and or profit per customer? So get more customers and make them worth more to the business, right? Either in the form of repeat business, upgrades, alternate trades. Like, what is the strategy? How does it impact getting us more customers, making them worth more? And three, how's this effort going to impact the ability to risk that the success that we are having now and the improved success we're going to have soon might not continue on forever in perpetuity? Which is another way of saying, how do we increase the enterprise value of the roofing company? Because if you go and do all the stuff and it works out great, that's fine. But it might still be really vulnerable to risk. Because if you die and the business dies, that's a problem. The business is worth nothing. And the less the business relies on you, the more it's worth, right? The more it relies on you, the less it's worth. So if we go hire someone after you're dead, will the business do the same thing? Like, is it going to continue to get more customers? Is it going to continue to get more revenue and profit per customer after you die? Probably not, but it will make the roofing company a lot more valuable if we can get close to the same results. And that means that this strategy is a good investment of time and energy. So does that make sense? I hope that you guys can say absolutely. Get a 4 in the chat if this makes sense, if I've got you so far, right? I want to make sure I'm resonating, right? You can use the Q&A box to put questions in for the end if I have time, but I just want to make sure if I'm making sense, right? So far. All right. Perfect. So this took me a couple of failures in my own businesses to learn. You don't get rich because of what you do. You get rich because of what you own, right? Everyone on this webinar has a roofing business, or at least I think they do, right? Right now, most of those businesses are not valuable. No one would buy them because it's just really you with 1,000 helpers. This is like from Traction and from Good to Great, the genius with 1,000 helpers concept, right? And if no one else would buy it, why do you want to own it, right? This is your chance to change your mindsets and start to achieve the acquisition of this skill set, consulting yourself and thinking outside of yourself, because it is a skill that I have found is worth having. The ability to break free of my emotional attachment to known truths that might not be actually true, and to only focus on the data, no matter what you're going to do for the rest of your life, right? And the rest of your time owning a roofing business, this will be an important skill to have. You're going to need people, right? First of all, right? You're not genius with 1,000 helpers, but you need to be able to attract, scrutinize, hire, onboard, engage, develop, and manage talent, right? And all of you probably have people in your business right now, but we need to be thinking strategically. So, a little more engagement time. Who in the room has attracted or developed an absolutely amazing person in their business that works for you currently? Now, I don't just mean a good salesperson. I mean someone who champions the culture, right? They don't require constant oversight. They embody the core values of their business. They do the right thing when nobody's looking, right? Someone who develops themselves professionally and uplifts the others in the business while also consistently beating all their KPIs and reports back to you on them regularly. If you've built one of these people in your business, be proud, stand up, and put a 5 in the chat. Put a 5 in the chat if you've built one of these people in your company. Cool. Now, what if you had 4 of them? How easy would life be? You'd probably make a ton more money. This is a simple truth that will blow many people's minds, right? Like Jason said, game over. The difference between small businesses and giant businesses is that they don't get bogged down by small business problems because the number of A players on their team and how many layers deep those A players go. What most small businesses do is they hire a bunch of people, they get lucky once and get someone who kills it for a decent salary, and you sit there in your office or at home thinking, well, if only I had 6 more Michaels, I'd be killing it, right? Just like people are saying in the chat, they'd love 4 more. Big business owners don't simply maintain a lower tolerance for mediocrity. Like that's all they do. They just don't tolerate constant mediocrity. That's it. They just keep looking until they actually find 6 more Michaels, which makes it too easy for them to kill it because they have 6 Michaels or 60 Michaels or 600 Michaels. How could they lose? That's the idea. Does that make sense? Easy to say, hard to do, really hard to learn, or at least it was for me, right? I lived my entire entrepreneurial career just putting up with people who are mediocre. That was like one of my biggest problems. I think it actually satisfied my ego because I got to thinking, oh, of course they couldn't be as good as me, because if they were as good as me, they'd have their own business, right? They would just go because I'm so good, right? It satisfied my ego. I think that was really like my main problem in that regard. And right now, I bet you're already thinking of that someone in your business that's mediocre, that you're continuing to allow to exist indefinitely on your team. Think of that person for a second, right? If you can't, I'll make it easier for you. Think of that person your wife has told you to get rid of on multiple occasions. How much bandwidth does that person take up in your life? What is the cost of that bandwidth of time and energy, right? If you're running a $4 million company and you're responsible for making decisions that impact the business, those decisions are occurred at a rate of $3,200 per hour. How many hours is that person gobbling up? How much money is that person costing you to keep them around? And for most of us, the promised land of growth is on the other side of a wall made of a few hard conversations. And I talk to these high-powered roofing businesses, owners all the time, right? Like our previous business, that's kind of who we talk to, is the top 200 roofing companies in the States. And it's super easy to tell after having these 200 conversations in the last 3 months. It's super easy to tell who will win because it's simply not based on their ability to handle and confront uncomfortable conversations. Funny thing is, it's the men who suffer more from this than the women. I see the wives and the females in the businesses constantly busting their husbands' chops and trying to snap them into reality. I am that person. My wife has done that to me, right? It's because we're super alpha dudes, right? We can endure all the pain, right? I got the obstacle is the way tattoo on my arm, right? We wear our ability to overcome adversity as a badge of honor. We've closed the big deals, right? But yet we just can't muster the ability to say, hey, Sandy, so you kind of suck at this. Can't do it. We just can't do it, right? And for that reason, I have suffered for decades because we just can't fire Sandy. So do yourself a favor, learn from me, and in many ways, do what I say, not what I have always done. And when you get off this call, Google what a performance improvement plan is. Just Google it, write it down. Performance improvement plan. Now go put that person on that, say they have 30 days to fix it or hit the road. Because this will keep you poor. This is very, very real. It will keep you poor forever. You got to grow up and become an adult entrepreneur and be able to have tough conversations. Because right now, a lot of you, when I talk to you, you sound like teenage girls talking all this smack about Sandy, complaining about her behind her back, but you never get rid of her, right? And this is the truth. Stop talking about Sandy and talk to Sandy. Like, Sandy, you suck. Tell them they suck and see what happens. Either they shape up because they're finally shocked that you told them to, or they ship out. Simple as that. Because if you can't change your people, you have to change your people. And Sandy is killing your business. And you owe it to the rest of your team of people, even if it's just that one Michael, you owe it to your team to fix it, because A players can't stand to see C players allowed to exist in continuation and perpetuity for no good reason. So many of you won't get off this webinar and go talk to Sandy. And I get it. I do it too. As business owners, we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. The difference between knowing what to do and doing it is the reason we aren't all billionaires with perfect abs. So everything else from here forward really depends on your ability to have uncomfortable conversations. Have I made my point? Give me like a 6 in the chat if I made my point, if you guys are still here. All right, good, jumping on. So with that out of the way, let's get back to the 3 frameworks that matter, okay? Getting more customers, making them worth more, and de-risking the business so the success continues to happen forever. Your actions as a CEO are not doing one or all of these 3 things, stop it. Once you've dialed in your ability to identify the constraints and allocate the limited resources to only the 3 things, you will see growth in your business. You can move to the next framework that will drive your success as a leader. Now, I want to preface this with, I do not know if there's an original thought in my head. And if you've heard this information before, it's because so did I. I have made it my life's obsession to learn how to be a better consultant. So I study everything and everyone. I don't know which thoughts are original in my head, but the next framework you need to know is more, better, new. As soon as you figure out and adopt the highest leverage impact that you can have on one of those 3 growth factors, getting customers, getting them worth more, and de-risking the business, avoid the shiny red ball and just ask yourself, why can't we do more? If SEO is working, just do more. Whatever the content plan is, do more of it. And maybe it's billboards. Billboards are working. Do more billboards. If it's weekly sales training, do daily sales training. If door knocking works, get 2 shifts. Knock twice as many doors. Do it twice as often. Hit neighborhoods twice. Do more. If it's going live on Facebook daily on site, do 3 lives daily. If it's calling customers occasionally to thank them for their business and ask for a referral, make it a policy and do it more. Do it every day. Do it with every customer. If sometimes we get more upgrades because we ask for them, ask more. Promote your upgrades more. Put more sales collateral in your Sumo quote to influence it more. Advertise your upgrades on more platforms. If videos are working on Facebook, do them on TikTok and YouTube too. Get on more platforms. Once you can't physically or possibly do any of it more, then you do it better. If blogging is working, try adding blogs in this information or knowledge base. If video is working, try short form. Try getting a better videographer. Make the headlines better. Make the thumbnails better. If your lead response is 30 minutes, get it down to 5. If billboards were working, try adding lights. Try to make the offers better on the billboards. If checking on job sites during the day results in a better managed, cleaner job site with more where people are putting on better work, put people on job sites the whole day. If you're doing good with a sales pitch that includes material samples to educate the customer, try adding visuals with Sumo Quote to get an even better educational quality into your proposal. Only once the mores and the betters have been fully adopted and maxed out on impact do I give you permission to do the new. Because this is what I see happen every winter. We just came out of conference season. Roofers go to RoofCon. They go to Roofing Process Conference. You're about to go to IRE. You went to Best of Success. And the ones who drink a lot go to Win the Storm. But then they go home and they decide on all these new things that they're going to do, and they puke it all over their staff. All these new ideas of what you're going to do. You're going to start a roofing podcast. You're going to start getting into selling maintenance programs because Ryan Groth talked about it. You're going to sign up for so-and-so's program for sales or supplementing or door knocking. Right? You're going to start selling solar and you're going to go and do a nationwide EPC. Right? I've seen it all. And then you're going to try and roll this new stuff out, and your team's going to roll their eyes and say, oh yeah, he does this every winter. Right? And then some of them are going to plant their flag and I don't want to do it island, and then just wait a few weeks for you to run out of steam. Right? And that's not going to be adopted. So then nothing happens, and you convince yourself next year you're going to bring the whole team to the conference. That'll do it, because now they're going to be there, right? And they're going to see it. But the most exceptional roofing businesses I know are just trying to find out how they can do more with more people. Then how can they train them to do something better, and at all costs avoid doing something new? Even when their team comes to them and says, we need to start a TikTok, they respond with, that's nice. How about we just call people back in the CRM within 2 days every single time? When they see some kid on YouTube talking about how he's making millions with AI automation, they just train themselves to say, great, can we just do more of the thing, whatever it is, direct mail, thank you cards, whatever, can we just do that and do more of it? How can we improve the job file playbook so more customers get the experience that they were expecting? There's no silver bullet. It's only golden BBs. It's the hard, boring work. It's not adding Rilla to your in-house presentations to record 16 hours a day of sales conversations. It's doing more role plays at the office. It's the hard, boring work that's your advantage. If you put your head down and just do the same things that are already work and just do them more and then do them better, you'll look up in 2 years and realize that you've built this amazingly successful roofing company. What's killing your momentum is that the belief that this new thing is somehow going to be the shortcut to the work that needs to be done. And it only becomes truer the bigger and bigger you get. There is no shortcut. The minute you just accept that there is no shortcut, you can prioritize. And if you can prioritize, you can execute. And that's strategy, like we were talking about at the start. But most businesses stay small because they fail to solve the problems that small businesses have. The sooner and faster and more effectively you finish the work that needs doing, the faster you can start by committing to taking massive action on things that are easy to do and have a big impact. That's the hard, boring work. It's the stuff that is easy to implement that will have a big impact on one of those 3 levers that influence your enterprise value, right? More customers, make them worth more, de-risk the business. Do what's working more, do it better, then look at new things and only focus on those things until they are done. Not some of those things and some other things, but only those things. And then you focus on things that are hard and have a big impact on the 3 growth levers. You then focus things that are easy that have a little impact. And if you get to the point where you're finding hard things that don't have much impact on growth, don't do them, because there will probably be new constraints that you can remove and work your way back to easy things that have a big impact. This is prioritization. A common waste of time I see is roofers going through the needless rebrand, right? When you're small and no one knows who you are, the logo isn't going to make a huge impact on getting customers or getting them to be worth more. And it certainly isn't de-risking your future by changing your name that is barely known. It's a feel-good project, plain and simple. Instead, build the actual brand. The actual brand is the thing you are known for. You must get known for things. Your brand is the feeling and thought that people associate with your brand because you have a reputation for something. If more roofers change their language from brand to reputation, they would focus on the right things. How pretty your logo is has 0 to do with your reputation. Apple is not a $3 trillion company because they changed their logo from colors to gray. Tesla did not break into the market of electric vehicles because they found the perfectly shaped T for the hood of their cars. It's because of what their cars are known for. It's because of the gut instinct of expectations being reality more often than when they experience with another product. It's reputation. Build reputation. It's consistently associating the unknown, you, with the known, a good experience. And oftentimes that is the limiting, or what is limiting the business is this big, obvious thing. But we see that in roofing and this business in general, right, attracts CEOs with big but fragile egos. We assume that our businesses are awesome, that we care more than our competitors, that we roof better, that we run sites better, that we care more about the sale, that we have a better warranty, or we have the better team backing up the sale with a good install. But if you look into my eyes and search deep down into the depths of your soul, you would know that if you were actually a world-class company, you wouldn't be running around trying to figure out how to get more leads or get better marketers or get ideal customers, because you'd have more people referring their friends. If you were truly doing something that exceptional in your business, you would be getting the exponential benefits of referrals, where 1 roof gets you 2 roofs, which gets you 4 roofs, which becomes 8 roofs, and so on. So what is the big obvious thing in your business? All of my customers, and the most successful ones, are ruthless on our technologists. They send, like, we get these tickets for improving people's CRMs that we've built, right? And they're sending us 10, 20, 30, or 140 tickets a month to improve their business. All right. And Keely, I'm going to get to your comment at the end. Constantly trying to get more data, better insights, and faster, more pleasant outcomes for their customers and employees will drive a world-class experience. Keely, this is where I get to what you're talking about. Year after year of doubling, we have experienced with these 8-figure companies that have doubled year after year. We've proved that this process works. More customers, make them worth more. De-risk the business, right? Remove constraints, more, better, new, right? Go back to constraints. This works. It's just easy for them because they tell us to make their thoughts into reality from a technology perspective, and we have the experience to consult them and break down this more, better, new. But a lot of times they don't realize that's what we're doing. So that's my goal here today, is to help you do it yourself. But we see our most successful customers have built compounding vehicles into their business that is driving down the costs of marketing and sales. One of our clients pays 2% commission and has for years on over $30 million in sales. 2% commission. Why? Compounding vehicles, right? There's a quote often misattributed to Warren Buffett. It's actually from Albert Einstein regarding compound interest. He says the compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it, right? But it's a lesson that Warren Buffett teaches well because he lived it well. And if you had to guess, and this is where I need you guys in the chat. If you had to guess, what do you think Warren Buffett's net worth was at 53 years old? Just put in a number. At 53 years old, what do you think his net worth was? Give me a thought in the comment. I want to catch up on some comments here. I got yours from Keely. 54 billion, 60K, got a big range, 100 million, 200K, 5 billion, 0, 200, 300, 3 million, 336K. All right. Some people are getting kind of close, 2 million. All right. At 53, his net worth was 67 million with an M. It was the first point in his life where his worth was more than $1 million per year of his life. However, at 91, less than 40 years later, he had over $1.2 billion per year of his life. That's the power of compound interest. And the best, smartest customers I have treat their investment in their own business like Warren Buffett does with his. They look for compounding vehicles, right? In fact, 80% of his wealth came from just 11 stocks. That's all that's what made his career. 80% of his money came from 11 stocks. He made 11 really good decisions in 40 years, choosing to bet on operators that follow these core principles that result in compounding returns and these compounding vehicles that you can do too. In this customer's case with the 2% commission, in his case, the compounding vehicle is actually compounding vehicles. They have basically a car dealership worth of vehicles that all have the same branding and equipment, like catch-alls and equipters, right? They're the household name and the house installers that always show up with the right equipment for the job. Like they don't just have a catch-all. They have a catch-all on every job every time. They don't just sometimes show up with an equipter. They show up with some kind of equipter, the big one, the small one, on every single job, every single time. It is ridiculously easy to sell roofs for this company. Their sales people make high 6-figure incomes. Their sales manager earns over 200K a year now, and the company nets profits in the 20% range, 20% plus net profits, right? Another one of our customers spends 1% of their revenue in marketing. Why? They found the places that worked and they never left. For them, TV worked. So they never left. They continue to invest in TV. They do more of it. They do it better. Even when everyone says the TV sucks, they've had the same marketing agency for 8 years through good times and bad. They continuously work on them month after month. They only have like 2,500 subs on YouTube, but they figure that video works, do more of it, go on a different platform for the younger generation. But they have fans on Instagram. That barely changes for them. Their Google ads barely change, but their referrals are through the roof on a scale of over $40 million in revenue because they are relentless on customer experience and they focus on the big, obvious things, making a remarkable experience that a customer would remark upon, and they are the highest rated company in their state. So another example that everybody knows about. Look at the most people who write these shitty ebooks. Spend 2 months with ChatGPT making some kind of Me Too book that sucks, but they have to promote it forever to make almost nothing. Then Alex Hormozi spends 2 years writing a book, rewrites it 17 times, but he had 500,000 people sign up for his book launch. 320,000 people showed up live online for his book launch, and he never has to promote it again. Why? Because people like me promote it for him, right? Along with every other YouTube funnel hacker who's trying to show how he promoted the book. The truth is, it wasn't how he promoted the book. It was the reputation he earned from the first book he sold for 99 cents that was exceptional. That's called brand. right? The second book outsold the first book in 30 days, even though the first book had a 3-year head start. So there's a lesson here, right? From these two customers and from Alex Hormozi, which is you do the more work up front, you have delayed gratitude, and everyone promotes your book for you forever, so you get forever money flow. Good life. No work up front, instant gratification, promote it forever for lackluster sales, shitty life, and no leverage. But it's like roofers come up to me and say every day, Adam, how much do I pay my sales manager? What's the best new tech in roofing? What do you think is the best way to get leads? My response is like, when was the last time you called to book an appointment with your roofing company? Have you heard your salespeople on the phone? Have you listened to a phone call recently? Have you read your sales guys' follow-up emails? Because it probably sounds a lot like this. Hey, I'm just following up if you had any questions or concerns. Would love to know how we can earn your business. Or if you have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to call, because like that's what the customer needed to hear. Oh, I was hesitating, and you just told me not to hesitate. Thank you. My hesitation was stopping me from calling you. Like, it's stupid, right? But have you ever sat outside your job site for 5 hours and just watch how they act? Have you seen what your job site looks like from across the street at 10:15 in the morning? Have you made a sales rep sit back to back with another sales rep and made them do a presentation of your products and services? Why do you want more leads? Why would you want more people to know how much you suck? It hurts to hear, but it's true, right? A lot of you are going into the world of marketers saying, I have a mediocre product and I just want more people to know about it. It sounds stupid when we say it out loud, but a lot of people in this room are doing it every day. If I were to start a roofing company again in the USA, now that I moved here, I would be obsessed with customer and employee experience. I would be relentless every day, focusing on every detail of the customer experience until I was getting at least one referral from every single customer every single time. And if I had none of the right fit hires leaving my business and all the bad hires getting rid of all those people that sucked, the people who drag everybody down and aren't aligned with the mission, if I'm not getting rid of those people, I would not be focusing on growth through marketing alone. I would not be throwing more wood on the fire. Until I was selling upgrades on every single deal and closing 33% with all the employees, I would not be worried about trying to get the most leads possible. I'll let you in a little secret. It is not the roofer that pays the least for the lead that wins. It is the roofer that can pay the most and still win. If you can close at 33% and sell high margin upgrades on 40% gross profit roofs, you can spend like a moron in marketing. It's not the new marketing trick. It's not the latest hack or video strategy or retargeting ad. It's not the chat bot, okay? As much as all the marketing agency and gurus want to make great content about that stuff, it's not the latest shingle or even a new CRM, as much as I would like you to think it is, because half of my business is just selling CRMs. But no, it's the big, obvious thing. Solve the root issue. Fix the biggest constraints. You must get down to the simplest level and make the business so enjoyable to give money to that people actually want to tell their friends about the thing that you have, right? I've talked to over 200 roofers in the last 90 days since we launched our new Atlas and platform programs, and it kills me because it takes 15 minutes to see that it is so obvious what they do. But the problem is that the owner is in it, right? They can't see it. They associate their identity and their ego to their business. And hell, in many cases, your business has your last name on it because you think that if your business sucks, it means you suck. And it's not true. If you want to be successful in business and build the company of your dreams, you should break yourself of that. You should disassociate yourself from the business, and you should just own the business. Like, really, look at your business and own your shit. Say to yourself, lead intake, non-existent. Sales process, different every time. Close rate, all over the place. Sales to service handoff, it's like the blind leading the blind. Total nightmare. Job sites, absolute pigsty. Customers have no clue what's going on. Thank God they're afraid of heights. And then I ask you guys, what are you going to do about it? So what are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to market it. Like, I want to get more leads. It sounds funny, but I read your comments in the Facebook groups about roofing, so I know this shit's the truth. So you want to fix it, right? Give me a 7 in the chat if you want to fix this stuff. This stuff makes sense to you, people. So curious if I'm not resonating. Okay, thank you. So whenever I've wanted to fix a business, whether it was mine or our customers, I've always found it to be more motivating if I could do it quickly. We'd like to do this stuff quickly, right? You need to know there's 4 types of speed, right? That's what helped me, was learning that there are 4 types of speed in business. Okay? So if you want to fix it fast, you need to know the 4 types. The first type is the functioning speed, which is the speed at which my team members interoperate with each other, my customers, and the levers of my customer experience. It's typically impacted by the selection and simplification of roles and responsibilities, good onboarding of employees, proper training, compensation, and development, right? So ascending through the leadership from me leadership positions where they're just responsible for themselves to we leadership where they're responsible for others, okay? Then you have processing speed. This is the speed measured by the unit economics of processing a piece of business in my company. Usually this is affected by my ability to reduce the effort and difficulty of finding the information needed, cutting duplicate data entry, and removing context switching from the role. Now, there's also expansion speed. This is the speed at which my business can expand into new markets, new verticals, and new services. This is impacted by my ability to lead people, like my leadership ability, right? Our systems for role duplication, the rate of adoption whenever we roll out new processes, systems for training, and adhering and compliance to those things, okay? Also, my access to capital and talent acquisition, right? I have to have the money and I have to be able to find the people to take advantage of the expansion speed, right? Or to have a lever on it. And then timing, right? This is the ability of the business and myself as the owner to read and react to the market events and opportunities and having the wisdom of knowing when to strike, right? This is impacted by the level to which I've removed myself from day-to-day operations and invest effort into the accuracy of reporting, both internally and externally. Timing can be everything, and I'll give you an example, all right? You might be in the bedroom one day thinking about running a marathon, right? You think it'd be something to put on a bucket list, and you'd like to work on it this winter. But having that thought out loud, asking your wife that maybe, you're thinking about buying a treadmill while she's legs up in the air trying to fit into an old pair of jeans, probably not the best timing, okay? Timing is everything in business. Too late, you miss a window of disproportionately good opportunity. Too early, you might tie up resources and it'll take you too long to get those resources to pay off, and you'll find yourself starving for resources needed for a better timed opportunity. So timing is everything. So to wrap things up, brand is associating things that are tangible with things that are unknown and intangible. If you want to build a brand, you must associate yourself with things that are known. You have to present yourself as aligned with the qualities that are known to your customers. And I'll give you an example. If I post myself standing next to this guy, you think one thing. If I post myself next to this guy, you think another. If I post myself next to my wife, you see me one way. If I post myself next to this person, you might see me in a different light. Now, this magic wand concept that I introduced at the beginning, right? Where you take what your goal you have and then where you are currently at. I didn't come up with this. This is something that's been said by many other people. But I want to share it with you because it helped me a ton. Again, I stand on the shoulders of giants, and I'm only trying to tell you the things that I have learned in my desperate attempt to cure my own desperate insecurity that I might not be able to build this business the way that I want. I might not be able to help my customers build the business they want, and the relentless effort that I put into trying to become smart enough to be the person I want to be so that I can have what I want to have. So if you feel sad, immediately think, I don't know what to do next. If you feel hopeless and simply don't know what to do, you're simply ascribing meaning to it so you don't have options, but you just need to become informed. Remember, sadness is ignorance. Ignorance is solvable. We live in an information economy. I'm literally going live twice a day, giving away everything I know for free. Ignorance is the easiest and most solvable thing when there are thousands of people, more like there's people like me out there every day giving away their best shit online for free. It has never been easier in our lives to solve for ignorance. On the flip side, if you have many options and feel anxiety over picking, is that you don't know how to pick, to prioritize, and to strategize. You need to learn strategy, which is a consistent practice of applying limited resources to unlimited options to achieve the best possible outcome. This comes with experience or guidance. So For every year that you have a goal of $10 million and you earn $3 million, you incur a debt to ignorance, right? It is costing you $4 million to not know what you do not know. And you will pay that ignorance tax with either time or money. And you will pay with the currency you value the least. Just remember, your mouth is an inch below your nose, but you still need someone else to tell you have bad breath. So don't tell me you know everything wrong in your business. You have two options: outside help or the pain and rejection and weird looks. Okay? You have a constraint in your business, whether you know it or not. If you don't know how to fix it, you will not fix it. You will keep doing what you're doing, solving the problems the way that you solve problems, and you will not get success. If you do not change the things you are doing, you will not improve the getting of the outcomes that you're wanting. Remember, the difference between knowing and doing is the reason we're not all billionaires with perfect abs. So technically, IQ or intelligence is not the definition of intelligence. It is a change of behavior that measures intelligence. If you come here and go to this webinar and you think, oh, that thing he said was smart, or like, yeah, we need to do this, right? I've already seen people tagging me with their employees' names on Facebook saying, yeah, we need to do this, right? You might be leaving here, able to tell someone else what to do, but if you do not do it, if you do not change your behavior, you will have learned nothing. Therefore, you have not become any more intelligent as a result of hearing this information, right? This goes back to a concept called the be, do, have principle, right? Which implies that you must be a kind of person who will do and must do things that need doing so that you can have what you want. Be, do, have. But this is mostly bullshit fluff. Alex Hormozy does this really good thing where he takes nouns and turns them into verbs and statements. For example, patience is something that is not binary. You are not patient or impatient, but to some degree you are patient. So then you must define as a verb and use it as a sentence. So really, being patient just means figuring out what to do in the meantime. Simply put, by being here, by listening to this now, you are choosing to do this in the meantime instead of something else. So you are not spending money or wasting useless time on Netflix while you wait for your company to grow. Because sometimes you just have to wait patiently for things to grow. And so in saying that, doing is the act of a person who will have. So we do not need to get as complex as be, do, have. It's just do. Being is doing, and doing is having. So therefore, just do. Right? So if you want to do the doing so you can get the getting, you have to learn the steps to consult yourself so you can find the order of operations most likely to succeed, which is find and remove constraints. Then you have learned something and you can then find out what is working and do more of it. When you get decreasing returns, when you reach the asymptote, the part where the graph starts to level off, you had 1,000 direct mail cards, you got a $2 million for sales. You do 2,000 direct mail cards, you get $4 million in sales. You do 3,000, you only get $4.5 million in sales. Okay, more stopped working. Now you have to do it better, right? Better offers, different size postcard, better targeting, different place you're targeting, new offer, new messaging, new colors, right? Then when the better does diminish in effect, contemplate new and direct your efforts based on ease to implement and the degree of impact it will likely have. Impact is measured on the three things you need to grow a business, which is to get more customers, make them worth more, and reduce the risk exposure so the possibility this might not continue forever. And that is how you grow a business the right way. So with that, I have some time for some Q&A. I want to see, oh, someone said go back 2 slides. Sure. Okay, that one. Direct your efforts based on ease to implement and the degree of impact it will have. The impact is more customers worth more money with less risk. So I've slotted enough time to do some Q&A. I'm going to scroll up through the chat. Remember Keely or Kelly or something like that had said something. Okay, Keely, just a comment. I agree with the advice to stop chasing shiny objects. That said, implementing a +1 change like integration of tools such as Rilla can be worthwhile. It is a balance of time and effort and profitable exercise. Rilla is a great platform if the focus is continuous improvement by way of up training. Yes, Keely, that is true. So again, it's the elegance in which the thing is set up, right? I believe that the thing that needs to happen for something like Rilla, right, which is a new thing for most of us, right? If it is working, how do we do it better? How do we do, well, first of all, you'd have to get your team to use it more. They'd have to use it on every single sales presentation. The problem is a sales manager cannot review 2 sales reps, 8-hour days, spending 4 hours on appointments. He can't review 8 hours of recording, right? And catch the emotions, catch the voice inflection, catch the responses. This doesn't have the time. So what we need to do, we need to have a way to create more data enrichment. How do we do it better? You would have to integrate Rilla. And so I'll speak in the context of HubSpot. In Rilla, you would have to make sure that you send your recordings into HubSpot as calls, right? Because it's basically what it is. It's a sales call. And then you would have to pull the recordings based on the close rate, and you would have to find the deals that have the shortest possible, or like the shortest sales cycle and the highest close rate, and narrow down just those calls and use those calls for up training. That's how you can make that the data from that tool usable. So again, it's not necessary to use Rilla and listen to 8 hours to do that. You could just bring all the sales reps in on a Tuesday and make them sit there and do presentations for 2 hours and watch what they're saying. Because for most of us, they're not even presenting the value. They don't know how to present the value, and you can see it. And so again, what is easy to do and has the most impact, right? Easy to do and has the most impact would be logically bring your sales guys in, make them present every Tuesday and look for improvements. Then you will know what is happening out in the field. And if you do that more, right, and then you want to do it better, yes, I would say implement a tool like Rilla. But again, you want to make sure that the sales manager doesn't have to try and do all that work to get the data, that they would be able to narrow down the calls that are going well, and also who has the longest sales cycles, who is never closing one call closes. Because you might, if you're just logging the Rilla calls that closed, well, was it the follow-up or was it the actual one call close? So you'd have to track the attachment rate from the one call close, knowing that the Rilla content would have the lever that created that success. So I've dumped a ton of information out here today. I want to know, is there any questions? It's very, very quiet in here. And so maybe that means I did a good job. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But for those of you in the room, I really appreciate you being here. And I want to make sure that you walk out of here either A, as a customer, you know how we do it with the consulting, and B, for those of you who are not customers, you can walk out of here saying that you got value from this and you will be able to consult yourself. I don't know which one it is, but I value your feedback. You will probably get a feedback survey after this, because we're starting to do that now to see which courses are going well and which ones people like. I would love to hear that feedback. I see I got some stuff in the chat. Not the time to make last week I was sending a sales over things I don't like to talk about. He was literally bad. He was in a rush. His internet was working. Not explain. Let me show a screen of Daniel, that sales guy that might be the sales guy we got rid of. So, because we did get rid of one. And that's good feedback. That's good data. That's a way for us to improve. So go ahead, Bettina.
We have a question from Jacob. In your experience, what is the most commonly missed constraints to growth?
Oh, that's a really good question. Almost always the biggest constraint is allowing players to exist, thus removing the opportunity to create A players. Like, it's keeping bad people around is probably one of the #1 constraints to growth. The other one is piss poor job site management. Like, no one would choose to buy from you based on what's happening out there in the field, right? Bad job site management is just such a common problem. And then also just effective use of time, right? Salespeople are spending a lot of time driving, right? And not doing follow-up. And if you have inside sales, like just rolling out the customer success and field tech concept that we do, it just immediately adds at least 4 hours a day of follow-up to each salesperson. That we do that in a 1-to-2 ratio, but that you add hours a day of follow-up per 2 sales reps, like, business is going to grow. Can't help but not grow. But again, if you have C players in the role, if you have bad comp, if you don't have a strategy around rolling that out, you can't just hire someone, sit them at a desk and expect more money to just show up in your bank account. But that is a big impact.
Adam, now we have a question from Luke. For under 3 million companies, do you do consulting as well?
We do format in webinars. So it would be too expensive. I would not justify a $3 million company. Unless you are rich, have a rich uncle, or you've been doing 3 million at a 10% net profit for 10 years and you have $1 million in the bank, it just does not make sense for you to pay for consulting when the problems are so simple. Every single Wednesday, I do a live Q&A as well. So I do these webinars where I teach stuff, right? I go over concepts. This was a big concept, but so we usually go more narrowly focused on a single operational framework. Then those are a bunch of dots, right? The what to do's. Then you have to connect those dots, right? The connecting of the dots is what we do in the Winning Wednesday. So this afternoon, I go live for Q&A for absolutely no money. You just show up and you are free to share your wins and ask any questions, right? And I will answer your questions to the best of my ability. It's completely unscripted. I show up and personally help anybody on the call. If I ever can't get through all the questions consistently, I will add another day. But I'll do a Winning Tuesday if I have to. But right now, for anybody, I will show up and answer questions. So if you're under 3 million, you should be in every Winning Wednesday and sharing your constraints and not making me waste the first 9 minutes of that day probing people to ask questions, because everybody sits there with stage fright. No one wants to go first. Once someone goes first, then the rest follow suit. So just show up and ask a question first. Take advantage of the fact that I do it for free. That's my way of trying to help under $3 million contractors.
Daniel, I see your response here. We're gonna make sure that Will sends an email to you. He's gonna book a meeting with Dylan. That's also one of our account representatives to give you another experience. We apologize that happened to you. But to answer your question, we are gonna have some discounts and special offers at RIE. For those of you guys that have not heard of RE, this is the largest roofing conference that happened. It's an international roofing conference, and RBP is going to be there partnering up with Arrive. So I do recommend you guys stopping by, because we're going to have demos there, and we're also going to offer a free implementation of Arrive for those of you guys that do buy platform. So platforms, one of our services that it's catered for companies that are trying to grow from 3 million to 8 million with a revenue guarantee. We're not trying to do a sales pitch here, but since you did ask, I recommend you doing both. Book a meeting with one of our reps, and also do stop at RE. If you guys need more information regarding RE, there's some posts on our social media, and also I'm gonna send you guys the link to our link tree, where you guys can get a free ticket to go to RE in Vegas. That's gonna happen next week in February. And Adam, we have another question from Brett. Do you guys have any HubSpot discounts? We want to upgrade for more. If we want to upgrade for more options. We have Atlas, but we would like some of the Pro HubSpot options as well.
Yes, Brett, speak to your customer success manager. So with Natalia, Corey, Jeanette, or Jim, right? They'll help you out with that. I want to get to this question that's in the Q&A, because I want to reward people for using the Q&A box. Jason, so we normally wait 3 days for follow-ups. Do you recommend a smaller time frame? We do not ask for sale on appointment. Well, asking for the money on the appointment might be a good start. Right? I have a client who's very successful. The guy is spending 1% on marketing. The first company we rolled out Inside Out to Sales, they do not ask for the sale on the first appointment. So I'm not saying you have to, but that might be worth the test. Second piece, if you're not asking for the sale at the appointment, you should be asking 15 minutes later. Your inside sales should be calling after the outside salesperson did their presentation to say, hey, it's just a follow-up. How is Timothy? Think of the person in the chat who said that my sales rep sucked. What if I had a follow-up from Adam that said, hey, I just want to make sure everybody's getting a great experience. How was your sales experience with insert salesperson's name here? And then you say, it sucked. Now I go, great. How do I solve that? I could close the deal, get the sale. So if you're not asking for the sale at the sale, you should, I would think. My opinion should be like, the reason that company does not do it, they literally have such radical building standards that they have to do more work, such as testing for lead and asbestos in the roofing material, because the building standards are just that bad there, right? And they're so wide ranging. They cannot produce a quote on site. So therefore they do not ask for the business on site. Everybody else I know asks for business on site. And if your answer has something with the words no pressure in it, like stop. Because if you're not them, the shitty roofer in your community will, and they will get the sale, and then they'll put on a shitty roof. You're doing a disservice to your customers. If you do good business and you do not ask for the sale, you are doing a disservice to your customers. And your whole job is to get more customers, make them worth more, and de-risk the business. You are risking every single customer getting pressured by a snake in the grass by letting someone else be willing to ask for the business. And then from there, you need to go forward and follow up right away, right? because you as an owner want to know, why did your customer not jump out of the chair and sign immediately? What is wrong with the value that you are presenting that the customer didn't see you as the obvious choice? Because you should be the obvious choice. Customers make decisions that day all the time. It has to be that your value is not an excessive price. You need to know why, and you need to fix it.
Now, Adam, I have another question here. So to hire A salespeople when starting a sales team from only selling, how many would you start with to increase odds of getting A players in position?
It's not how many you hire to increase the odds, it's how you hire. You need to have a better job posting, a better interview process, a better hiring process, a better onboarding process, a better training process, and that will increase the square footage of your luck to increase the odds of getting an A player. And as for how you measure it, hire two at least, right? And do it that way. If you're in a market where you need more, well, if you're only going from one to several, you should just hire two. If you're in a bigger scenario where you have multiple salespeople, hiring fairs or hiring more than that is good. But I would say two at minimum, because you want to see a magnitude of impact.
Now, Adam, we have a few questions regarding if this course will be available and the slides will be available after today.
Yes, this one I want to put on YouTube right away as fast as possible. I want it to be available for everybody so we can send it to customers. We can this is a piece of content that I intend to use a lot. That's why I hope it was really good.
And folks, as you can see on the chat, we have Gary here talking. Gary's one of our HubSpot experts that he works in the DevOps team, and he will be at RE. Usually at those conferences, we have a lot of sales and marketing teams. So this is a great opportunity for you guys to get to know Gary, and especially talks about the tech stack that we have. So guys, just ask away all the questions that we have regarding all of the products that we have and the partners that we have. So just try to explore Gary's brain as you guys are at the conference. A lot of times when you guys see us posting blogs on our social media, so besides Adam, Gary's one of those guys that do write a lot of those blogs. So Gary is going to be there at the conference. So besides sales teams, marketing team, we are going to have some pretty extraordinary people that work here at RBP. They also work on the DevOps team at our organization. So I do recommend you guys just going ahead and asking for demos and chatting with everyone that's going to be there.
Lauren, I don't think I would volunteer Gary to start emailing general insights just because he is busy building HubSpots every day, and our customers would probably be annoyed if Gary suddenly starting all these conversations. But he will be at IRE, and that will be a great way to get time with some of the wizards and geniuses behind the scenes. But I don't want to throw their emails out and now suddenly they're spending all their time doing customer success. That if you're a client, then you're going to probably end up interacting with Gary anyway. But just from like a cold out there in the market, I got to try and preserve their time. Elmer Glick asked, what should we be doing to answer our calls? Answering service or VA? So during the day, right, I would want inside sales answering calls, right? If you can, and I know you can, get inside sales in your business, that's the first step. After hours, you can do some type of off-site person. We thought, and they're still thinking about starting something called RBP Night Shift. Just got to get the time to put it together. But RBP Night Shift is because I live in Hawaii. In Hawaii, it's noon when it's 5 o'clock in Minnesota or other places like that. And so we thought, why couldn't we start an answering service? We know our customers' CRMs. We know their processes. We know how to book appointments in their software. We could literally have the best answering service out there. So it's something that's on my plate of good ideas to do someday. And again, this is all about timing speed and expansion speed, right? But it's something that I think would be a no-brainer to set up a call center in Hawaii, because out there, our time zone is just better. We could train them exactly on our customer systems because we build their systems. So it'd be something only we provide to customers. But I mean, it makes sense for us to do. But after hours, I would suggest having a human being who knows your system answer the calls. Now, you could have maybe a single mother, right, who can't work during a certain time because she has kids or whatever. Like maybe there's someone local who could do it. But yes, I would certainly want a phone being picked up after hours by someone who can demonstrate competence. And that's what I worry about with VAs is some like Filipino person who's answering a phone for 12 different kinds of businesses and doesn't know shit about your business, about your market, about your weather, about your customers, and speaks in a weird accent that nobody understands. And I know I told you to ask that at Winning Wednesday. Here you are. So thank you very much for showing up and answering that question. If you have more questions, definitely show up this evening. I got about 5 minutes left, folks, until I have to jump back into the rest of my day. I really appreciate y'all being here. Bettina knows I want to get this video up right away. So our graphics team's got to put together a thumbnail. Bettina's got to put together the chapters, right? Because she's got to break this in. I color coded it, Bettina, so it's super easy for you. So all you have to do is go like this, go like this, and then, oh, just like I had it. And you will have kind of the chapters easily laid out by colors. So that way it'll be easy to kind of break out the points. And so Bettina's going to get working on that as soon as she has time. And then she will get this up on YouTube right away because we want to make this a regular part of content that we distribute to customers. The hard part will be getting them to watch an 1.5-hour video on YouTube because I know how hard that is. I hope to see my watch time go up because of this video. We'll see.
And you guys, we do appreciate if you like, comment, share, and that goes for across all social media, but especially on YouTube. It does help us a lot, and it helps us knowing that you guys are happy with the content and you guys like the content that we are delivering to you, so we can know what to produce more of and less of. So just engage as much as you wish. Just make sure to follow us, and that way we'll know what type of content and courses you do want to see more of. It does make a huge difference for us, absolutely.
Yeah, Bettina is watching that stuff all the time, because she's trying to keep her ear to the ground on social media and on our YouTube, which is social media, but trying to see, okay, what are people saying? Because the comments are limited, you know, every comment carries with it a lot of weight. So your voice matters more the smaller we are. The bigger we get, the more comments we'll get, the less your voice will matter. So you have control over what we do. So keep us in the loop as to what you guys are looking for. Have a wonderful day. Good luck in growing your business. Go and consult yourselves, get a strategy. All right. Thank you.